thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have you join us on Issues of the Moment, live on Radio Nigeria Network, Africa's largest radio network. Issues of the Moment is a weekly interactive program that focuses on burning and trending national issues. And this program is interactive, and so the phone lines will be open for your contributions at due time. And don't forget that this program is also streaming live on our website at www.radionigeria.gov.ng. That is www.radionigeria.gov.ng. I am Utabe, your host for today. Across the country today, conversations are shifting towards fairness, accessibility, and equal opportunity, especially for over 30 million Nigerians living with one form of disability or another. Since the signing of the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act of 2018, the journey towards full inclusion has been steady but slow. Issues around employment discrimination, inaccessible public buildings, limited assistive devices, inadequate implementation of inclusive education, and low public awareness remain major concerns. Civil society organizations and disability advocates are calling for practical steps to ensure that laws are implemented, infrastructure are upgraded, and persons with disabilities can participate fully in society. As Nigeria joins the rest of the world to mark World Disability Day tomorrow, December 3, one important question remains. How can we build a society where disability does not mean disadvantage? That's a big question. And this is our focus on Issues of the Moment today as we examine disability inclusion in Nigeria. All right, so with my guest in the studio already seated, I was supposed to have Barrister Catherine Ede, of course, first female deaf lawyer, executive director, Voice of Disability Initiative, board member, Enugu State Commission for Persons with Disability, but she has a representative here in the person of Mr. Edward Ojiji. He is M&E manager, Voice of Disability Initiative. You're welcome, Mr. Edward.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure having me here.
All right. I have as well George Anwai, Assistant Program Manager, TAF Africa in the house.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, listeners.
All right. Also in the studio is Lynn Aguncha. She is a Senior Program Officer, TAF Africa. Lynn, you're welcome.
Thank you, TV. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me.
All right, I equally have Ayuba Alamson. He's Director of Disability Network of Civil Society, Borno State. He's equally founder of Ayuba Alamson Foundation. It's good to have you in the house, Mr. Alamson.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure. Thank you, listeners.
All right, so we're talking disability inclusion in Nigeria today. And for you, dear listener, in due time, we'll be opening up the phone lines. But remember, you're part of this conversation. Due time, we'll open up the phone lines for you to get to talk and share your thoughts and your contributions on what we have on hand this afternoon. All right, so let's quickly go into it. Now, what does disability inclusion? Let me actually start off with Mr. Alamson. What does disability inclusion truly mean in the Nigerian context?
Thank you so much for asking me such very important questions. Yeah, when we talk of disability inclusion, it simply means in a situation whereby you have all government policies, right, starting from the issue of planning, preparation, and everything that government want to do, individuals, corporate organizations, or whatever, supposed to be inclusive. What I mean by inclusive is if somebody want to build a house, the person with disability have to be considered. If government want to do policy, employment, government have to look how many percent is supposed to be given to person with disability. And then, for example, in our society, if I'm a house here in Radio Nigeria, the Director General, I don't know, does he has a person with disability as his or her special advisors? So those are the things. By the time that we considered inclusivity in everything that we want to do as in country, we are talking of considering and carrying person with disability in everything, either employment, planning, and whatsoever. It will surprise you that for over 20 years I've been, suffering with spinal cord and also visual impact. I try in every corner to make sure that my voice has been heard for government to assist me as individual in Nigeria. But lack of inclusivity, that has not been done. Therefore, inclusivity is when everybody is given opportunity to be carried along, to benefit, to enjoy the right that the Constitution has given to every individual in Nigeria.
All right, so Mr. Edward, do you agree with what Mr. Lamson just said about inclusivity of people or persons living with disability?
Yeah, I totally agree with him because you look at the context around talking about disability and inclusion. Yes, the Act has been enacted since I think January 2018. And but when you talk about compliance in terms of in the area of government and public institutions, in the area of employment, in the area of education, in the area of even health facilities, you know that a lot still needs to be done to ensure that persons with disability are carried along in every development agenda, both at federal level, at state level, and at local government level, including down to family level, because you discover that some people are even building house. Possibly they have relative that is a person with disability, but in the building there is no consideration. In our religious worship centers, most of them do not have consideration for persons with disability. So you discover that a whole lot needs to be done. The implementation of the Disability Act is really, really very slow and very much uneven.
All right. George, he just made mention of lack of inclusivity, talking about people or persons with disability. In your own opinion, what do you think it's a factor that is actually hampering the implementation of this policy or this act that was enacted in 2018?
Yeah, so I would say that one of the challenges we have is political will, because when it comes to implementation, you're also talking about what the government needs to do. The government is responsible for enforcement to ensure compliance. So has the government itself, how accessible are government buildings, our secretariats, how accessible are they? Government offices, how accessible are they? So when you want to talk about compliance, we need to start with the government first. So what is the political will to ensure that this is, but I must also acknowledge the fact that there has been a lot of clamoring, there have been a lot of voices speaking, and there have been some responses also, even from the side of government. For example, we're not just, signing the bill into law. We also have a commission, the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, to enable enforcement, but it's really, really very, very slow, and there is so much ground to cover. The Act provides, for accessibility to ensure that every building, every public building is accessible to persons with disabilities. So, but how many buildings are accessible, starting even from government buildings, government facilities, where persons with disability as citizens also have the right to go and transact business and do business in government, offices. So how many people? So exclusion actually starts from there. When you don't have physical access to a building, you are systematically excluded. I mean, there is no any, you can't even be in the meeting, not to talk of making contributions. All right, so these are the things. So I think that there is a need beyond just words, beyond policies, beyond just having the act. There is a need to become deliberate and intentional. Disability inclusion has to be intentional. What is actually affecting persons with disabilities, what we call exclusion, is actually barriers, the existence of barriers that affect the participation of persons with disabilities on equal basis with every other person. So once those barriers are eliminated, so what we are asking, what the law is providing for, is the elimination of those barriers. Let's remove the barriers, and you will see that persons with disabilities are like every other person, contributing meaningfully to development, contributing to the national development and contributing to economic development. So it's important that not just the government, even the private sector as well. When we say public buildings, we don't just mean government buildings. Public building means any building that anybody can go to do business, right? So it can be it can be a building, a facility that belongs to a private sector. So it's also a public building. So all those facilities, let's start from physical accessibility first, and then of course we go to other areas of accessibility. So it's important that government have the political will to come out, provide budget. For example, you cannot implement if there are no budgetary provision for some of this. You go to some places and you raise some issues and they will tell you we don't have budget for it. So when there is no budget, and why don't we have the budget? I mean, so it's very important, it's very key that we make those budgetary provisions so that when it comes to implementation, we just, go along. For example, we have currently the national access to work scheme, that is on ground, that is in the custody of the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, and a framework has been developed. TAF Africa actually supported the National Commission of Persons with Disabilities to develop, that framework, and the idea is that persons with disabilities need to have access to jobs. All right. So the idea of the scheme is to incentivize job opportunities for persons with disabilities in the private sector, because the government cannot possibly employ everybody. And so the thing is that it comes with money. There should be money budgeted for that. For example, if a private sector employer wants to employ a blind person, wants to employ a visually impaired person, what do they need? What does a visually impaired person need to work effectively? He may need to work with a computer, and then he needs a screen reader to help him work. Screen readers are expensive. So what that scheme does is to provide the funds for this person, so that the private sector employer does not have to bear the burden of the extra cost associated with employing a person with visual impairment to work, and then that provides. So, but how much do we have on ground to provide for all? So we need, to be intentional. The government needs to be intentional about disability inclusion.
All right, Lynn, you're Senior Program Officer at South Africa. How much efforts have your organization put in to make the government see the need to address some of the concerns he raised?
Okay, thank you very much. I would love to say that I'm the Senior Communication Officer,
All
not
right.
programs, yes. So at South Africa, we've done a couple of interventions. And first off, our engagement with government is advocacy, because we can't force, we can always advocate, tell the government that this is what should be done. And we've had a couple of initiatives that will support the inclusion of persons with disabilities. Like Mr. George had mentioned, we supported NCPWD in development of the Access to Work scheme framework. And then in governance as well, we've advocated for inclusive elections. So part of the advocacy that we did actually gave rise to the provision of assistive tools for persons with disabilities during elections. And yes, the government responded to that. They've provided assistive tools, magnifying glasses for persons with albinism, the Braille ballot guide for the blind, and election day return instruction for the deaf. It's not perfect, yes, in terms of deployment. It's not perfect. There are still mismatch in deployment, absence of some of these assistive tools where they are needed. But the most important thing is that we are not where we used to be. We've moved the needle from point A to point B. So aside that, what again we've done with the government is to push for the deployment of sign language interpreters. We know that the National Assembly, when they do some of these public hearings, the deaf are not able to benefit from this thing. They don't even know what is happening. So we've pushed for this thing, and it has worked. We deployed SLIs at the National Assembly. And yes, what we're actually hoping for is that going forward is going to be sustained. Although, yes, thankfully, so some of them have been employed to work there. So these are some of the things that we have done. And for persons with disabilities themselves, we've done a couple of awareness, because in as much as, yes, we engage with the government, we also notice that people are so unaware of the act. Most of our engagement at the state level, you speak to certain persons, you gather people, speak to them, and even some persons with disabilities themselves are not aware of the act. So the awareness is really low, right? So I think that when it comes to the act, people are knowledgeable maybe at the national level, but then if you come to the grassroots, they don't know about the act, and those that are enjoying some privileges that we have in the act they're enjoying it because others are providing it from a place of pity. You know that Nigerians are very compassionate people. So when you see a person with disability queuing for something, you just allow the person priority from a place of pity. But then in the act, it shouldn't be from a place of pity. It's a thing of right. But this is what we do. Like, it looks like that is when you talk about the act. They'll tell you, but we allow people with disability to vote now. You have pity on the person. But then it's not from, we're operating from a place of pity. But then it's in the act. So this is one of the things we've discovered, the awareness, the low awareness, beyond the political will that, yes, Mr. Jot had mentioned, that the government is yet to, and some of the states are yet to domesticate this act. So it's not even functional in some states, it's not operational there. And even the states where it's operational, they have not really implemented, which is also a challenge. So we keep advocating that this is what the government should do. TAF Africa, we've been engaging with the government at all levels, at the national, at the state, and also the stakeholders, security agencies. How do you provide support to persons with disabilities? In case of crisis, violence, persons with disabilities should be evacuated first. So we've had these conversations. We've talked about accessibility, accessible buildings. And the thing is that the 5 years that moratorium that they were given has expired. But then there is no enforcement as it should be. You know that when you enforce something, people are most likely to comply. When you shut down some buildings that are not accessible, others will know how best to retrofit their buildings. So we've been advocating that, yes, this should be enforced. This should be enforced. Some of these buildings should be shut down so that others can learn. And beyond that, beyond our elections, we've been pushing also for inclusive health. We understand that persons with disabilities, I'll give you an example, persons with albinism, they are very susceptible to skin cancer. So some of them, they actually have something that might appear as a pimple on your skin, as a dark-skinned person, might just be cancerous to a person with albinism. So, and some of them cannot fund their treatment, the cancer treatment. So we push for access to health. How can we subsidize the cost of accessing healthcare for persons with albinism and other persons with disabilities? So there are a couple of things that we've done in TAF Africa to ease the burden on persons with disabilities and make sure they're fully included in society.
All right, so you just made mention of some people who are not even aware or who are ignorant about the act.
Yes.
Okay, and of course, there are some people living with disabilities who are not even part of any organization. So how do you bring them close?
Persons with disabilities
who are not even aware of which organization for persons living with disabilities to be a part, how do you bring them close?
Okay, so the thing is, right, the community of persons with disabilities, there's a national umbrella, which is the JONAP, the Joint National Association for Persons with Disabilities. And under that, we still have clusters of persons with disabilities. We have there's a leadership for the blind, for the deaf, for the persons with physical disabilities. So in TAF Africa, we do a couple of community engagements. We always do. And we make it public. Persons with disabilities come and we do the sensitization, we engage with them. This is what you're supposed to do. So also encourage them to be a member, because sometimes you won't just drag a person with disability from the street. You have to invite them through their national leadership, because some of them are not, yes, like you said, some of them are not members. They are not. So we encourage, when we make our engagements open, some of them come along. And also on social media, they engage with us a lot on social media, because you see you might do a post of an event that you had, or most times we live stream our events, and you see comments like, I didn't know this was happening, I wasn't invited. So we'd say, follow our page and see what is happening, and also try to come for events, register, be a part of, because we don't have offices in every state, but we can reach out to the leadership to get the persons with disabilities together. So we keep telling them, be a part of this, in as much as it's for everybody, but then it's more coordinated when we are engaging through your leadership.
All right, Mr. Lamson, you are founder of Ayuba Alamson Foundation, and I guess is actually a part of the one of the organizations for persons living with disabilities. Now, how much effort have you made to drive home your demands?
Thank you so much for the question. Let me first contribute to what you have just said concerning the issue of Jonapit. One thing that I would like us to understand and the listeners is when we're talking about Jonapit, there are a lot of issues concerning issue of Jonapit. There are a lot of politics in it. In some states, some people have built walls around themselves, preventing others from joining that clusters or the organization because from the side of government they are benefiting. If you are intelligent, you are vocal, and you are transparent in your life, some of these leaders are running away from that because I discovered some things. Organizations that claim to be organizations of person with disability, a lot of them are using those closer leaders to block opportunities for various persons with disabilities. Why do I say this? Because, like myself, in my state, I have tried to be part of this Jonapit for more than 4 years, but I have never given a kind of opportunity to be there. Why is because I have been advocating first for our commission to be established, where those people that are, see the commission, the people with disability are under Ministry of Women Affairs. Such kind of ministers are benefiting much on these people, leveraging on them. And we that are advocating for the people with disability to be removed out of such kind of ministries and then let them be given their agencies for them to operate on their own. There you will discover there are a lot of issues. Therefore, like you asked me, what are we doing to help ourselves and then people with disability? We have been advocating a lot. One of the things I do is to let people know that nobody will be able to identify or nurse our problem better than ourselves. Now I'm visually impaired. Not anybody will be able to predict the level of pain that I do experience in my eyes and headache, except myself. I have multiple disabilities, spinal cord. Nobody will be able to predict the level of pain that I feel from my back, except when I'm sleeping, I will not feel pain. Therefore, here, all advocacy that we are doing now is for government to make it mandatory that our agency should be created in all states of the Federation. All governors let them create agencies for persons with disability, for them to be on their own, decide for themselves, suggest for themselves, and then integrate everybody, regardless of his or her own background and then religion issues. But in other areas, there are minorities. So, for example, if somebody is from southern part of the state, which happen to be minority, some will be in the central part of the state, which have some little bit number of people that belong to certain religion. Maybe other part of the northern state will be populated by certain religion. And then you'll discover some group of people like so will select themselves. You will not know when the election will be taking place. So a lot of things do happen. But as you asked me, what we are trying to do now is for the public to know, individual, collectively, for government and even private institutions to know that they have mandate to give to people with disability. In a society whereby there are people that have kind of humanitarian heart, let people come out and sacrifice some part of their wealth, sacrifice their strength, sacrifice their time. Consider that one day there's old age, which is another factor for disability. Let them build a better society for everybody to benefit, for everybody to be carried along. And that is our advocacy. We continue to try by all means that those children with disability must have access to clean school. Let them have a better environment, for them to have a good education, for them to be given free health care always, so that in future our society will be clean. You will not see any person with disability on the street begging. Those are things that we are trying to advocate for, and they create awareness about it.
All right, so trying to identify with Jonapede that you said up till now is to no avail. Have you made efforts to, are there procedures or structured procedures that you need to follow in order to register that it's really hampering your registration with Jonapede? Because I know Jonapede is an umbrella body of persons living with disabilities.
Ideally, at the state level, they have the president, and then they have general clusters have chairmans. At the state, also they have the chairman that headed all clusters. Then at the cluster level, you will have NAP, National Association of Land. You will have hearing impaired cluster. You'll have physical, those on wheelchair. You will also have albinos, spinal cord, and the rest. Therefore, at this cluster level, that's where the problem lies. I want to talk about my state, Borno State now. Because of what is happening there, the number of NGOs, in hundreds of them are there. Everybody would like to spend money on issue of disability. And it's easier for them to go and meet some of the cluster leaders. Okay, bring 20 persons with disability. They'll go and stay in one corner, snap pictures, and give whatever they were able to give, and then write their report and go. So if you are a person that is trying to be transferred, okay, if it is 50 million or 30 million that is budgeted for that, let that money be used holistically on the life of these people, instead of giving biscuits and minerals. So if they knew somebody have this kind of spirit, you will never be allowed to be part of that cluster. To be able to meet some of those clusters, this person will block your opportunity of having some money. And those are the rest. But I said time will come, we'll pass that.
Well, how can we build a society where disability does not mean disadvantage? That's our focus this afternoon on issues of the moment. We'll be going on a short break, and when we come back, we'll be opening up the phone lines for you to get to share your thoughts with us on our topic this afternoon. Do stay with us.
Radio Nigeria, uplifting the people and uniting the nation.
Do you know the position of your state in the just released State of the Nigerian Environment Report, STONE 2025? Which states occupy the first position? Are you aware that Nigeria remains the second country with the highest open defecation rating globally?
Akwa Ibom State has emerged as the cleanest state in Nigeria for 2025 with a cumulative score of 79%. While Enugu and Ebonyi State followed closely, ranking second and third place with 65 and 56% respectively.
For more on the State of the Nigerian Environment Report 2025, the National Coordinator Clean Up Nigeria and Secretary Nigeria Technical Study Group on the Environment, Prince Ene Baba Owo, will be giving us insights on global space. Join us through any of the Radio Nigeria zonal or FM stations across the country. For live streaming, visit www.radionigeria.gov.ng. Time this Wednesday at 12:30 in the afternoon. Global Space, creating awareness on the occurrence of environmental degradation and the need to imbibe sustainable healthy practices for the good of all. Please be part of this conversation.
Radio Nigeria, uplifting the people and uniting the nation.
It's good to have you back. You're stay tuned to Issues of the Moment live on the network service of Radio Nigeria. Today on the program, we're examining disability inclusion in Nigeria with my guest in the house. And you can be a part of this conversation by dialing the numbers 0915 091 0483 and 0808 281 4453. I take the numbers again: 0915 091 0483 and 0808 281 4453. How can we build a society where disability does not mean disadvantage? And remember, do not use abusive or derogatory language when you call. Note that no caller has preferential treatment, and please be brief and straight to the point. All right, so the phone lines are open. You can start sending those calls while we continue our conversation in the studio. All right, so let me go to Mr. Gigi. How much progress would you say Nigeria has made inclusion-wise since the signing of the Disability Act in 2018?
All right, thank you very much for the question. My colleague, the senior communication officer from TAF, rightly highlighted initially, since the signing of the Disability Act, January 2018, I think some progress has been made. We are not where we used to be, but we are not where we want to be yet. So a whole lot still needs to be done. We have made progress in area of I think some of the radio stations now you see somebody with sign language during news interpreting, and like she rightly said, in the National Assembly during a public hearing, you see a sign language interpreter interpreting so that the person with hearing impairment can be carried along in the conversation. And you go to some facilities, yes, you see some ramps there, but it's not enough. You know, for persons on wheelchair to be able to access healthcare services that is disability friendly, you discover that most of the ramps, most times leads to the maybe the emergency ward, maybe the antenatal ward, and any other place there's no ramp to access any other services. Maybe you want to go and buy drugs from the pharmacy, you want to go and pay for the drugs purchased from the pharmacy, you know. So, but those things are not there. However, we have made progress, but a lot needs to be done. In our healthcare facilities, like you've heard from most of us here, you understand that there are different types of disabilities, and their needs are peculiar to the typology of the disability. The needs of somebody on wheelchair is different from the needs of somebody who is visually impaired. It's different from the needs of somebody who is have hearing impairment. Is different from the needs of somebody living with albinism and all that. So,
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello,
Good afternoon.
it's Radio Mama. Calling from Jos Plateau State.
All right, Radio Mama, it's good to have you.
Okay. Yes, good evening to your guests there. And what I'm saying here is that there's so much noise about this people living with disability, you know, that's physical challenges, because they are not factored in from the onset. In advanced countries, they don't talk about them because they are just like any other human being. But in Nigeria, because there's this discrimination in even providing the facilities, you know, it's really unfortunate. Then they act, the usual Nigerian problem, the act that was brought, that is signed into law since 2018, to even implement is an issue. Having a commission, is that the problem? That's not the problem. The problem is implementing the laws. The laws are there. Now, I've seen it even in recent times. You know, some banks, some buildings, they don't have. I've seen where somebody with wheelchair, they didn't have provision. They made the man crawl. A full-grown man made him crawl. I wept. You know, what is happening in this country? You know, because there was no provision for that wheelchair to go through. Sometimes they are denied even boarding a flight. You know, we have to change our attitude. We are all potential disabled people. It can happen. If it doesn't happen from birth, it can happen. You can have an accident and it will happen. You know, that the lawmakers, all of them, that's the political class, everybody, they should be involved and change their attitude towards this issue. Even parents, they're not even left out. You find some parents, they'll be hiding their children that have problems, which even sometimes from birth, not even the child, they allow the rest go to school, or they won't allow that one go to school. You know, it's not, in fact, I don't find it funny at all. It's really unfortunate, you know, the way we are going in this country. You know, something must be done and done fast. Well, they will say 5% or 10% for employment, yet they will not even give them that percentage that they have agreed on. I don't know. I don't know. What they need is not sympathy. What they need is CORE. C is for courage, O for opportunity, R for responsibility, and then E for empowerment. When you provide an enabling environment, they do very well. They excel. Sometimes they even top the class. You know, even in the universities and all that. I don't know. I feel sad. Honestly, it's really unfortunate the way we are going. all the 7,000 of Nigeria, all that demand. It will get better. Nobody should lose courage.
Thank you so much, Radio Mama, for that wonderful point you just raised. You know, that's okay. We have another caller. Hello, good afternoon. Hello. Hello. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
Thank you.
Yes, it's Adam West calling from Suleja.
All right, Adam West.
You see, over the years, just like the lady woman has just said, the law has been there, but it's what is holding them from implementing it. In most of the what I'm a medical officer, St. Nicholas, the Cool Hospital, all these are private organizations, like good hospitals, and I was there. They all have ramps where people with wheelchair can go as far as the level they want to go. What happened to in recent times? People just build, even in estates. They build it without architects. You know architects for that matter. They should remember that, just like my mama said, nobody is complete until we die. Nobody cannot say it's complete. Anybody can be disabled anytime. Because I work with a doctor who lost his hand. And then before he was complete. But before you know it, he had an accident and he had to one of the hands has to be amputated. And then they put in artificial for him. So that is the thing. And this is a fine man that is strong. That was strong, I mean. So that is the thing. So please, the government should, our architect, the government should all wake up to do the right thing. In estate, they should, people, we are not doing our work. The architect, everybody is not doing what he likes in this country. May God help us, give us good direction. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adam West, for calling.
Thank you.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Hello, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. Your name and where you're calling us from, please.
Yeah, my name is Mr. Chinomsu Onya.
Hi, Mr. Chinomsu.
I'm calling from Bida, Niger State.
Thank you.
You see, my regards to your guest in the studio. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So, you see, our problem in this country is we have many policies in this country. But the problem is implementation. We lack implementation. You see, like, for example, I used to know those days when I watch what is called television, I will see interpreters of sign language interpreters close by on the television screen. It is giving signs to those deaf and dumb people. I'm sorry to use that language. But, and again, there are some places where you go, if you want to go to like hospitals and other places, other agencies, other buildings, other government agencies, other places, you see people that used to guide blind people to access the place or the building. That thing is no more functioning. If you go to hospitals, I want to use this medium to call on government, from local government, state government, and federal government. Every hospitals, you understand, be it primary health center, be it federal medical center, be it teaching hospital, be it general hospital, they should have people that are being employed, that are guiding blind people, that are guiding, that are putting blind people through, that are putting deaf and dumb people through, that are putting people like people that don't have legs and people that don't. You know what I mean? This PRP working. There is a language. There is a common term to use for it. PWE. You understand me? So they guide them. And if all these things are being put in place, if you go outside country, ordinary Ghana here, they have all those things put in place. Why can't we use to answer Giant of Africa, Giant of Africa by mouth and by paper? But when it comes to implementation of things, we only do it on paper and implementing it. I don't know why it's like that. Ordinary general hospital or federal medical center doesn't have somebody that has sign language skills, doesn't have somebody that guides all these what is it called facility for people or all those people that don't have legs. They don't have the facility. Like this federal medical center, I doubt if they have it. General hospital, they don't have it. Sign language, people that are blind, if you go, they go for make they suffer. So what are we saying? Lack of policy implementation from the federal Ministry of Health, many government agencies. It's quite unfortunate. Let me allow that people to call. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chinomsu, for calling. All right. I think all our callers they used one voice, so to speak, calling on the government support, and that's why I asked a question earlier that how much effort as a body have you made, to press this button? Because I mean, it's pressing the buttons for something to happen.
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay, so let's pick this call. Hello, good afternoon.
Yes. Good evening.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, welcome. My name is Ruben, and I'm calling from Lube Airport Road.
Ruben, okay.
Thank you. Yes, I love this program very much, and I just want to use this opportunity to ask one major question that has been bothering me. I'm a person living with disability, actually. And the reason I'm calling is because I want to know if there is a particular a group of person living with a disability that I can join so that I can actually, get any benefits or updates that has to do with person with disability. Because normally I need to be part of it, but I don't really know a particular one that I can belong to. And if I try to ask around, nobody, really know. So I don't know if there's a particular one that I can be referred to in Abuja here that I will join. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay. Let me quickly respond to you. What's the type of disability?
Is it?
What is your type? What is the type of your disability?
It's leg disability. I work
Okay,
with
so you are a person
actually.
with physical disability, right? Okay, so in Abuja we have the Joint National Association of Persons with Disabilities. That's the umbrella body for all persons with disability. So we have the national body, and we also have the state chapter. So for Abuja, for FCT, we also have the Joint National Association of Persons with Disability Abuja chapter. So and then we also have the National Association of Persons with Physical Disabilities as a cluster for persons with physical disabilities. So you can be part of the Physical Disability Association of Persons with Physical Disability, and then of course the Joint National Association of Persons with Physical Disability as well. You can reach out to, because I am looking at you, since you're already able to connect to the radio station, they could actually give you contact of people you can call and then get access to.
You can as well give us the contact.
So let me give you my number. Then let me give you my number so that we can get talking, and then I'll connect you with the right body. My number is 080 381 399 11. So you can give me a call or chat me, and then I will refer you.
All right. Is there any other contact where they can join as a body away from? Okay.
So that is okay.
Yeah, like what my friend has said. We can able to drop the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities contact.
Okay.
Which is very easier. He can connect him, and then the president for Joint National Association for Persons with Disability, Abdullah Kevi, I will drop his contact to you, so you can forward it to him if possible.
Okay. So can you give us those contacts?
Yeah, it's in my phone. When we're done, I can give you.
All right. I think we need to share it. Yeah, you can.
So additionally, I think that the internet has made everything easy. Jonapid has a very strong social media presence, Jonapid National. So if you go, they have a physical office here in Abuja, right? So if he goes to their social media handle, they're on Instagram, they're on Facebook, the address is there. So from the address, you go to their office and express your interest to be their member. I think that is the easiest.
How about someone who wants to know the address?
Okay, that's what I said. That they have a website.
Okay.
They have a website, they have a social media handle. Just type Jonapid on your internet, everything just pops up. You go to their website, their address is there, because I don't have it on top of my head right now. The address is there, the contact is there. So the address takes you to the physical office here in Abuja.
All right, Mr. Gigi, you have an address, a contact you want to share, a website?
Yeah, I have the phone number of the FCT chapter, the coordinator for FCT chapter. The number here 080 34 04 3224.
Okay.
Yeah, his name is Abubakar. He's
Okay.
the coordinator for Jonapid FCT chapter. The person that just called can use the number as well and reach out to the man, and think they're very much accommodating and they are very friendly. Whatever guidance he needs, he'll be able to get it. We also have Voice of Disability Initiative, which is our organization. Our office is located at 81 Ralph Shoden Street, Enugu, the housing office complex. He can as well come to that place for further directory and guidance on how he can be part of the communities of persons with disability.
All right, so Ruben, I hope you've gotten that, and of course to every other persons living with disability who does not belong to a particular organization in relation to that. So I think I should read out those numbers again: 0803 813 9911. That's for one of our guests here, and for the FCT coordinator is 0803 404 3224. I'm glad you've gotten that. All right, so let's take a look at the education sector. How would you say the system has fared inclusion-wise?
Okay. All right. For education, to be honest, that's one area we are lagging behind, because what South Africa actually had supported the Ministry of Education in coming up with the national policy on inclusive education, and which was later reviewed. We have a revised version of the national inclusive education policy. So we have, just like some of our callers have said, we have policies everywhere, but when it comes to implementation, we are having issues. Honestly, we have not done so much when it comes to inclusive education. Now, what inclusive education does is that it ensures that everyone, regardless of their disabilities, are able to learn in the same environment with everyone else. So persons with disabilities and non-persons with disabilities are able to learn in the same classroom. So that is the concept of inclusive education. It means that, it just simply means removing barriers from our education system, removing barriers from this environment, removing barriers from the classroom, so that persons with disability are able to integrate into the system and then learn. What that will do for us, again, is that at early stage, children without disability are able to understand disability better, because they are now in the same class with children with disabilities. So what it will also do is that it will deal with the problem of discrimination and stigmatization, because you are now able to, from childhood, understand disability, and you're in the same class with a person with disability who is topping the class. And then you now realize that disability is not a disadvantage in any way once barriers are removed. And then you know that person with disability can also perform optimally. They can also do very well in class, and then they can also do very well even when it comes to career. So that helps everybody to understand disability, and before you know it, the issue of discrimination and stigma is removed. The barriers we are talking about are removed. If we get it right at that early stage, if we get it right in our education system, we'll probably get it right in every other aspect when it comes to employment, career for persons with disabilities, and every other economic empowerment of persons with disabilities, and every other aspect. So we really need, not just at the national level, even at the state level. One of the things that we do, for example, we have a project in Rivers State where one of the things we are advocating for is to see that there is disability inclusive governance. So part of this disability inclusive governance we're looking at service delivery from the government side. Education is one of those things. And so is our education inclusive? I'm glad one of the days we had, we paid a courtesy visit to the Ministry of Education in Rivers State, and we met the permanent secretary, who is very passionate about inclusive education and the participation of persons with disabilities. And she spoke to us about some of the conferences she has attended on inclusive education that opened her eyes to a lot of things. And what we're saying is that these things should be implemented. Policy makers, decision makers at various ministries should ensure they put their foot on the ground to ensure these things are done. If our schools becomes inclusive today, a lot of our problems we are talking about disability today will be, dealt with.
So from what you're saying, are you trying to say that special education should be ruled out completely?
So when you talk about special education, so we're saying that we want to eliminate discrimination and stigma, all right? And so you say special education, you are now talking about, for example, that's what we call this segregated kind of education, where you have school for the deaf, school for the blind, and where you have only blind persons in that school. And these people will finish from that school and then join the larger society where it is not only blind people, but they have lived their lives with only blind persons. And so they are used to only blind persons. So they will come here now, they will now have to start learning how to live again with every other person. So you see what that does, but if you have this inclusive education, it's better. It helps everybody to learn how to. So a person with disability to understand person without disabilities, persons without disability to understand disability better, and then we're able to function properly in the society.
All right. Yeah, just to add, a disability does not mean that they are less of human being. So if we make the environment disability friendly, if we make the environment inclusive enough, they will be in the conventional schools and be able to learn, be able to adapt, be able to relate with one another. When children grows, like he said, it's about reducing or eliminating stigma and discrimination. But when you have a school and you say this is school for the blind, it's already stigmatizing by that definition that this is school for the blind. But so when you have them mixed together, the understanding, the interaction grows up. And once they grow up, they become adults that understand what it means to live with persons with disability, what discrimination can be reduced to the barest minimum. And again, we are talking about sign language interpreters. Most of them are only being engaged by NGOs who work in disability sectors. But this will create opportunity for them to be engaged in such school and contribute meaningfully to the development of those children in the conventional school. Sometimes when people see even sign language interpreters, the way they are demonstrating, it gives them that joy that how this person is manipulating the hand and the other person that is having hearing impairment is understanding. So it gives them joy, and some of them want to pick career in it. You go to our university level, most of persons with disability are pushed to special needs department, to special education. Meanwhile, there are some of them that can work compete favorably with other students in engineering departments, in medical departments. We have testimonies of some of them that came out one of the best among their peers from the universities, in engineering department, in other conventional departments. And even you go to some of the ministries, you see that they have a department for persons with special need. And then once you are a person with disability, they just push you to that department, whether you have something to do there or not. Meanwhile, these people can contribute meaningfully to the development of other departments in the ministry. They can come up with ideas, they can come up with innovation that can help the ministry. And in our recent visit to the Federal Ministry of Education, like what he mentioned about disability inclusive policy, I think the director there mentioned it, and he said it's one of the focus for the current Minister of Education, ensuring that all education, primary and secondary schools are disability inclusive. And if we push that forward, it will go a long way in helping us having a better society that persons with disability can flow very well and be carried along and make meaningful contribution to the development of the society at large.
All right, Lynn, how can we strike a balance between government's responsibility and community support in promoting inclusion?
Okay, I quickly wanted to say something in addition to what they said before I come to that. So the thing is that we strongly believe that when persons with disabilities are at the decision-making table, it's actually way more easier. So that is why in South Africa, we engage with political parties. Please make your forms very inclusive for persons with disabilities. Subsidize the rate so that persons with disabilities will be able to participate in politics. So some of the political parties have been responsive so far because we know that when persons with disabilities are elected or appointed, so they'll be there while the decisions are taking place. Nothing for us without us. Nothing about us without us. So it works. Secondly, he talked about ramp, how some ramp has been provided. The thing is that, right, ramps, they aid persons with physical disabilities to move, especially wheelchair users. But the truth is that some ramps some ramps are actually death traps,
Yeah.
right? So if you don't use the actual gradient for the ramp, it's as good as not being there, because wheelchair users can't even use them, because when the idea of ramp is for you to actually move unassisted, just live independent life. So additionally, talking about the media we see the media as one of our stakeholders, right? So the media, they have an education function to the public. They're supposed to educate the public. Now, when we have the media have occasional programs for persons with disabilities, it's not encouraging. We have when it comes to media framing, how the case of persons with disabilities are being reported, referring to someone that has speech impairment as dumb, or calling persons living with disability. So we use the person first language. So the media should not wait for us to have a special event, or for us to have a specific program for them to cover issues about persons with disabilities. It should be intentional. When you're having conversations around, let's say something random that happened in the country, there should be a person with disability in the studio to give a disability perspective to the issue. So that is very important. I just thought to mention that. Thank you.
And just to add to what she said, for example, in the recent experience we had with regards to the protests around good governance and all that, you see the police throwing tear gas and all that, trying to mitigate dispel the protesters and all that. But in the process of throwing those tear gas, what if somebody who is very visually impaired is among the people around there? For example, it happens around Federal Secretariat, where the Office of the National Commission for Persons with Disability is just close by, and a good number of them are there.
All right. Well, I wish we actually had enough time for this conversation, because it's very important and key at the moment. But as it is, time is far spent here. All right, so this brings us to the end of Issues of the Moment today. Of course, today we discussed disability inclusion in Nigeria with my guest, Mr. Edward Ojiji, ME and Manager, Voice of Disability Initiative. Also, George Anwai, Assistant Program Manager, TAF Africa. Lynn Aguncha, Senior Communication Officer, TAF Africa, as equally my guest. And Mr. Alamson, Mr. Ayuba Alamson. Thank you so much for coming on the program today. We appreciate you all. All right, I would like to say a big thank you to the production team. The studio manager has been Rosemary Chris Ngo and Tijani Abdul. The engineering crew led by Zakaria M. Zakaria and Hazan Usman. I'd like to say thank you to my producers, Uzoma Ogbonna and Chiamaka Afamefula, and thanks to my executive producer Sushima Ki and supervising producers Josephine Adekola and Rosalind Garba. My name is Utube Myung. Thank you for being there. Join us next week Tuesday, same time, for another edition of the program. Stay safe and stay tuned for the next program, Naseni Milestone.